Greetings, everyone. This is Mike Riley, the voice of Ironman. And this is the Old School Tri Show with my Kiwi mates Cameron Harper and Brian Ashby. The show that talks about all things triathlon, old and new. We're powered by Ansco Foods, bringing you nutrition and good health from New Zealand's beef and lamb. Thanks for listening, everyone. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome along to another episode of the Old School Tri Show, brought to you by our great friends at Ansco Foods. And today, Brian, an absolute pleasure of a person, heck of an athlete with a very good pedigree out of the USA.
Boise, Idaho. Yes, today it's all about family, faith and fanging it. 2 times Ironman New Zealand's champion, Jocelyn McCauley.
Ansco Foods is proud to be the new naming partner of Ironman New Zealand, ensuring every stroke, pedal and stride is powered by the best nature has to offer. Ansco Foods is on a mission to bring nutrition and good health from New Zealand's finest beef and lamb. Ansco Foods, putting the iron in Ironman with New Zealand's finest beef and lamb. Visit anscofoods.com/Ironman to find out more.
Well, Jocelyn McCauley, so good to have you on board with us on the Old School Tri Show this morning in New Zealand, this afternoon in Boise, Idaho. And it seems like yesterday that we just had you here in New Zealand at Taupo for Ironman New Zealand. Let's wind the clock back a little bit, as we so often do in this program, in this podcast, and how you sort of came about getting into the sport, because I understand you sort of came from a background of a running background, track and field, cross country and so on.
Yeah. I ran in college. You know how college sports here in the U.S. are huge, and
Yeah.
so did some collegiate sport here. I ran post collegiately a little bit, but got injured, and so I was, decided cross training is a great thing. So my sister got me into triathlon. Really, she did these crazy things called Ironman races that took all day, and I thought she was insane for doing it, and went to the race and just, we most of us know, I think, the electrifying experience of the start lines and the finish lines and just that energy. It's palpable in the air, and I just loved it and enjoyed it, and I was like, I have to be part of this just one time. So I did a half, and my first half actually was after my having my first child. She was about 10 weeks old, and did my first half Ironman, and then decided a half wasn't, like, it's just a 70.3. It's not a full. Like, I need to experience the whole thing. So did a full the following year at Ironman Texas. Was my first one in 2014.
Wow. So going back, it was about 2013 when you first did a triathlon, and you started with a half. Prior to that, you weren't always in Boise, Idaho, were you? Where you sort of grew up at high school and things in your running.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas,
Yeah.
just about an hour and a half from where the Ironman is in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I went to college at BYU in Utah. It's at Provo, Utah. Ran there, and then I did a master's at University of Cincinnati. So we moved out to Cincinnati, did my master's out at UC, and that's where I started triathlon, where my sister got me hooked, and then I got looped into the tri scene there, and had really good friends there. I mean, I think that's an amazing thing about the triathlon community, is the community is just it's just an amazing community. We bond together, we uplift each other, we help each other, and everything like that. And I just found a good tribe there. So yeah, and I'm currently now out in Boise. My husband's work took us out here. So yeah, but it's been a journey around the US, at least.
Certainly.
What did you study at college in your master's? What's that in, Jocelyn?
Yeah, at BYU, I got a bachelor's in exercise physiology, and then master's in exercise physiology. And then there was a little bit of a time there I was a little addicted to school. I moved my addictions around, and currently it's training. So, but it was school then, and I did another bachelor's in nursing. So
Wow.
I actually worked as a intensive care nurse in the cardiac unit at a hospital before I started triathlon.
It's amazing what you've got such a remarkable CV. In the passage of time when you retire from triathlon, people, employers are looking and go, "What?" There's so much
They're
happening.
like, what was this like 10-year gap that you did doing
Oh,
pro sport? What was that?
Well,
oh, yeah, but there's it kind of shows a little bit of motivation going on there.
your ego isn't
Just
that you haven't got the large ego, Jocelyn. There's plenty of people around and be like, just Google me, you'll see what I did.
Yeah.
Look at my Google landing page.
Yeah.
When you started, I mean, clearly you really hit the ground running with triathlon, and so you started with a half, and you got a 10-week-old baby and stuff. What did you do? I mean, how did you take this sort of the swim bike, and did you like steal programs off your sister, or did you straight away have a coach? How did you sort of go about getting into it?
Yeah, when I did my first half, I stole stuff off my sister and just programmed my own stuff there for a bit as well. I mean, I come from an athletic background, right? Like I
Mm.
ran so many years, and so I took my running knowledge and kind of overlaid that into swimming and biking. But then I had my sister coach me, like full on coach me for the first year I was a pro. So in 2015. Yeah.
Is that her profession? Is she a coach, or no? She her
No, she's
experience.
not.
Yeah,
But she
yeah,
had experience, and she'd coached a few other people as well at the time. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You obviously have a great relationship with your sister.
Yeah, it's awesome. She's done Ironman New Zealand with me several times. So yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant,
Did,
brilliant.
did, it, did it ever upset her that was her sport and suddenly her sister turns up and becomes a professional?
She hasn't ever acted upset or like anything. She is one of my biggest cheerleaders in this sport and has been to Kona with me to support me there and everything like that. I can't say if roles were reversed, I would have the same grace. So
Outstanding. Yeah. Hey, so look, you really hit the ground running, because your first full was in Texas in 2014, as you mentioned before, as an age group. You won your age group on debut.
yeah.
As you do.
Smoked it. Yeah, yeah. Well, and how did that sort of that? Were you surprised by the result? I mean, here you are. I guess your baby still isn't a year old at this point, and
She was just a year old.
just a
She
year
just turned.
old. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what was your sort of reaction? Did you land sort of where you expected to land, or were you surprised at sort of how it played out? Because your trajectory from there on in was fairly spectacular.
I think both, right? Like I think as an athlete, you expect a lot out of yourself. Like so the expectation of myself was there and I knew what I could do and I knew it was there, but then you also are in a new sport and unfamiliar territory and so you have to have the humility there as well of like I don't know what's going to happen. And so like I had both, I had Jacqueline Hyde and just like, yes, like I could win and I could qualify for Kona and everything on my first Ironman. And also it could go to pot and be awful. And actually I ended up getting a flat on the bike there as well. Had to, yeah, to change a flat on that. It was before tubeless. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it didn't all go perfectly or anything. I was on a road bike with clip-on bars, like, it was the beginning of my days of triathlon, but it was wonderful. I expected a lot of myself, but in the same breath, like I said, you have to have the humility. And so my husband and I hadn't even had the conversation of if I have a Kona slot, are we going? So
And so, but you got the Kona slot and you went and
yeah.
you backed up. You ended up winning your age group in Kona as well. Oh my word!
Yeah,
Yeah,
first overall amateur female. So
yeah,
yeah.
That's incredible, really. And what
yeah.
was it like for you for that decision to go to Kona? Did you have expectation on yourself at that point? I mean, same question that Brian had. Was it a surprise to you to win that overall first age group at home? What was your expectation?
Yeah. at that point, it was my second Ironman in Kona, and it was the world championship. But I was so fresh in the sport. Like, I mean, I had done my first half a year ago, so like, I didn't know Kona. Like, Kona wasn't this like magical, mystical place to me that was
Mm.
like a circus show or anything like that. And so it was just a vacation to Hawaii, like, honestly. So I was just going and enjoying it, but also, like I said, like, I'm an athlete. I have expectations of myself, and I did go into that race thinking I could win this, which maybe it's the naivete like that I had at that
Mm.
point of like, whatever, I don't care. I've only done one of these, but I can beat everyone else who's done these for years, whatever. So yeah, I did. I went in there with the goal of winning the race, as an
Yeah,
like amateur level winning.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and I mean, the thing that really interests me is that, you've said a couple of times, well, I was an athlete, so, I could make the adjustment. But one of the, coming from a running background, I wonder how tough was swimming the hardest thing for you to sort of find your way forward, and as you went into triathlon, because for so many, that's the story that we hear. Was that the same for you?
yeah. So my parents had a philosophy that swimming is, I mean, much like New Zealand and actually a lot of Europeans as well. Like, swimming is a necessity to learn. Like, you have to learn how to
Mm.
swim. Like, it is a life skill that everyone
Yeah.
should know at least basics of how to swim. So thankfully that's not really a thing in the US, unfortunately, but my parents did have that
Yeah.
philosophy of you need to learn how to swim, and everything. So put us in swim team and swim squad and stuff. So I had fundamentals. I had years of swimming under my belt, but that was when I was like 7, 8, 9, like, kind of thing, like lots younger, and hadn't been in the pool for a very decades since then. so, it wasn't horribly hard because it's like riding a bike. Once you learn it, you can get back to it. Like, but yeah, there's been building blocks, of course, uh, on my swimming journey. So
You're
Yeah. All
incredibly
right, I have to apologise. I've got a visitor.
yeah, it's all good. It's a cute visitor.
Yeah, we've had kids wander in. We've had all sorts of things
Yeah.
happen during our podcasts over the past year or two. I mean, one thing that's abundantly clear is that you're incredibly mentally strong, and how important is your faith and that strength as you built your way into your career?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think, yeah, I draw on God and Christ as strength for sure when I'm in dark places. I think that when we always have someone or something to lean on, it generally helps, whether that be a religion, a Christianity, or people, or whatever else you have in your life. I think that's an important aspect to your life for sure. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You very quickly after Kona, so you're like 2 from 2. You
Yeah.
won at Texas age group. You just quietly go to Kona or the World Championships, and you're the first age group home there. You very quickly turned pro after that. Was New Zealand your first in 2015? Was that your first professional race?
It
It was.
was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
I went
top
to
5 there.
my,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I went to Kona, obviously October, and between Texas and Kona, I went PRN, like as needed basis at the hospital. So I worked like twice a week at the hospital, as a nurse, till Kona. Because before Texas, I did 5 nights in a row, then flew there on Tuesday, and then raced on Saturday, and it was just a whirlwind. I was like, "This is a lot." And then Kona was a little less. Right? I'm working twice a week, kind of thing, and building into Kona. And then after Kona, it was a family decision to go pro because, like, at that point, it's my kid and my husband, trying to involve all of that. I had lots of different avenues of my life that were taking up time, and had to figure out where my time was actually best suited. And so I had to go to my at the end of the year, I went to, when we decided that I was going to go pro, I went to my boss and was like, so I am going to quit because I'm going to go, pursue this professional triathlete thing and stuff. And she just looked at me like I was like the craziest person. She's like, "You can make money in that? Like, what are you doing?" So it's like, "Yeah, I think so. We'll
Yeah.
find out."
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And it
Oh,
must
and then
be,
New Zealand.
Yeah. Why New Zealand?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I don't race Sundays, and so it's a Saturday race,
Mm.
which it's one of the only professional Saturday race Ironmans out there. There used to be a lot more professional ones. There are plenty of Ironmans that are Saturdays, but they not don't all have pro fields, obviously. So I chose it because it was a professional Ironman that was on a Saturday, but also because New Zealand's always had a special place in my heart from when I was a kid. So my parents actually took us there when I was like 12 about. And we spent, like 2.5 weeks touring around the North and South Island, and just I absolutely fell in love with it. I probably still like in my like childhood box have like I kept every single pamphlet and flyer of every little activity we did and the maps and like the little like holiday parks we stayed at and like everything, because I was like, I want to go back and I want to go see all these things and go with my family and stuff when I'm older. So I kept everything. So it just always has had a special place in my heart.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
And
Yeah.
and coming down to New Zealand, so that was a pretty easy decision, being a Saturday race. The timing of it. I mean, what was the timing like for you? Because it's coming off the back of a US winter, isn't it? Was that okay for you?
Yeah, I mean that's like a lot of what people say is they're like, oh, you have to train inside, you have to train through the winter. And I find that I get used to whatever I'm doing, and I like kind of I get in a rhythm and I get in a rut. And so like I'm fine as long as I'm staying here and not moving. So what I mean is like I'm great training inside. Like as long as I know I'm going to be training inside for, these next 4 months or whatever. And then it actually takes me like it's a process to get me outside, because I'm like, oh, I just already have a setup and I'm just in my rhythm inside. I don't want to go outside. But then once I get outside, I'm good for the next 4 months. And then it's like the month of transition and stuff like that. So it's the transitions that aren't good to me. But other than that, I don't care about running on a treadmill, riding my bike on a trainer, or anything like that. So it's really fine. And I've generally gone to Texas in January for like a little winter break for about a couple of weeks, so I can
Yeah.
get a little bit of vitamin D refresh. So it's also an excuse to do that and get some sun, go to New Zealand, get some more sun and stuff like
Mm.
that. So
Hopefully,
yeah, indoor
hopefully
training
some fun.
is so yeah, hopefully some sun. Yeah,
Mm.
indoor training is so focused and so effective. Like it
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
It's underrated in a lot of programs, isn't it? Indoor training, because you're right. If you're in a position where the weather's not great outside, or I don't know, you're living in the central city, or just that's what life brings you with work, indoor training can be really effective.
yeah, no, for sure. Like you hop on and you don't have to go through the 5 lights to get out of town or, whatever. I live in the country, so I honestly have one light and like a handful of stop signs. So that you just blow through anyway. So I'm fine where I'm at here, but yeah, where a lot of people are. And honestly, even with that, like, if you're doing really hard efforts, like I find you can go even harder to me on the trainer, because I'm not focused about, is there a car coming? Like, is there a pothole coming in the road or a bump that's going to throw me and stuff like that? You're able to just focus on yourself and going hard, and easy nutrition. Very easy to do nutrition on the bike too inside.
Yeah, yeah. But that first result in New Zealand, finishing top five, I guess did that sort of come with that a sense of belief and yep, I can build from this and go on. How important was that in terms of setting you up for what was to come further down the line?
Yeah, I don't know if it really did. It wasn't the biggest field. I think there were what, 8 people in the race. So
Mm.
like it wasn't the biggest field. It wasn't the deepest field or anything like that. So I don't think it gave me any confidence, but it didn't detract from it either. So I mean, I knew that it was going to take time, and I wanted to just see what this journey would be and continue and see where it could bring me. I didn't want to just, do one race and base everything off of that. Like Which is interesting that I'm saying that now, because a lot of times I do that to myself now that I'm further on my career. Yet when I started my career, I was like, whatever, it's just one race.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
I think, I mean, you talk about the smaller fields, and there were for a period with quite a lot of the races, especially in some of the women's fields, but they were always competitive at the top. They were always competitive. The top
Yeah.
3 to 5 athletes, there were some absolute weapons in there. So yeah, I wouldn't understate
Yes.
what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm sort of looking at scanning through your sort of results and so on. You came back the next year and you had a DNF there, but you went to Europe that year and raced in Mallorca. And I think you had your first, was that your first Ironman win in Mallorca?
Yeah.
So the opportunity to race in Europe, that your first European excursion of racing?
Ooh, was it? I think so. I can't remember if I raced Vichy that year earlier or
I'm just
not.
looking. I'm just looking through your
My
results at the
results.
moment, and it is.
I'm like,
No,
I don't know.
Brian's being on. I got to say, he does the most research of anyone ever
Yeah,
invented. So
yeah, you know me
I've got
better than I do. So
it.
you tell me my travel plans.
Yeah,
No, you
No,
did. Vichy was the following year.
yeah.
following year. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that was my first. I did actually 3 weeks there because I did Ironman Mallorca. And then 2 weeks later, there was a challenge Mallorca, which I ended up DNFing because of problems with my bike, actually. So I spent an extended period of time, and it was after that, it was, I think, really 3.5 weeks away from my family that I was on that. My husband came over. The sister Meredith, who got me into Ironman, actually over and took care of our daughter for us while he was over there. But it was just way too long away from my daughter. So I said, no, I can't do those long trips anymore. But it was wonderful. I had a little apartment in Spain and got to speak Spanish and everything. I felt very adventurous living by myself in Spain.
Yeah.
That would have been
Before we
great
sort of
fun.
get on to your first win in New Zealand, I get you sort of had that DNF in 2016, and one of the things that sort of features is sort of reading through your bio over the years is you've really had to work hard to rehab from injuries and the like. You've had a really sort of tough old time with panel beating on the body, and I guess it was that sort of the start of it.
The start of it, meaning in 2016.
Yeah, with injuries and things.
So 2016 DNF in New Zealand wasn't an injury. It
Oh,
was overheating. It was sickness.
yeah.
So I got sick before the race and then decided to try to start it. I had a fever and it just like I mean I was burning up in the swim in New Zealand, which anyone who's
Wow.
swum in New
Yeah.
Zealand, you don't burn up in the swim. Like so so I knew that it was a rough day from there, and then just on the bike I couldn't keep stuff down. I wasn't drinking enough, and like I yeah, I stopped and ended up going to my husband made me go to the med tent because I was like laying there on the grass and being like, oh, this feels so good. He's like, it's burning up outside. I was like, no, I'm freezing cold. Like,
Wow.
anyway, so I like I had a fever above 40. I want to say it was 41. And so they were just like they pumped fluids in me to try to get my core temp down, had me sit in ice baths, stuff like that. So I just had way overheated on that. So that was that. I struggled with sickness for a while. I honestly didn't ever get injured really in triathlon until my second daughter in 2021. So
Yeah,
then
yeah,
she's been the string of injuries since then. So first half was sicknesses, second half is injuries. So
yeah, yeah. The third attempt at Taupo in 2017, and it really came together for you this day. And I guess if we wind the clock back to that time, the queen of Taupo was Meredith Kessler,
Mhm.
Yeah.
at that time. And what are your recollections of that win of that day?
Yeah, I mean, I went into that race thinking that I could win it. So, I although there was a giant of Meredith, like, right? She had won 5 times and she was going for her sixth. I think it was her sixth time and her 60th Ironman or something like that
Yeah.
that she was going for that year, and stuff. And so obviously, you never bet against a 5 times. It's be like betting against Cam Brown at Ironman New Zealand. You just can't. So
Yeah, yeah,
maybe not to the same level, but close
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, like going into the race, there was a giant I was trying to take down in a way. And I was able to have a solid swim. That was, I probably wouldn't call that a solid swim at this point in my career. I'm a much better swimmer than that currently. So, and then was able to just go to work on the bike with Laura Siddall and Yvonne van Vlerken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we worked together on the bike there, and we're able to make up the gap to, I think, Meredith, and Meredith was riding with someone else, Annabelle. I can't remember who it was.
Annabelle Oxford, yeah,
Might have been,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Annabelle. Yeah. And we all got off the bike pretty close together, and started the run. I mean, Meredith took off. She always takes off.
Yeah.
Used to always take off on that run. And that first lap was a lot faster than, any of the other laps. And I kind of had that in my head of like, whatever, it's fine. Like I can catch back up to her. And then I do remember we were like running along the waterway. I have the picture running along the waterway, and we're side by side, step for step for each other. And there, everyone knows Meredith. And so, there's like 50 go Merediths and like 2 go Jocelyns it's like the whole time. And so like I knew, yeah, but just, I was like, in awe and just really excited to be able to be running with her, and then getting into town, and then the town turnaround, I was able to break the rubber band and then take the win.
Yeah.
You didn't just win it, though. It seems to be the story of a lot of your wins too. Is that that day I remember it really, really well. Standing and watching all of this, and we knew who you were too because we'd met you the last couple of years. But when you won it, Joss, you won it. Laura was second, and Meredith was third. You won that by 12 minutes. Like on the back half of that run, you just put the pedal down, and you were gone. Like you smashed that back into that run. You must have been really, really happy with how that panned out.
Yeah, I wish I could run like that now. Hopefully soon we'll be getting that back. So
Oh, you're underselling yourself here.
Man.
We'll come to the right here right now a little bit later on. You ran like crazy this year. So yeah.
Oh, I don't know about crazy. It was not a good time, but
Yeah.
we're getting the run back. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. We're getting the run back. We just need to get it under 3 again. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really, yeah, I remember just really soaking it in the last couple, the last couple of kilometers, miles, etc. Like just loving it. I like being in this spot of not having to worry about the win and like, having to do a sprint finish. That doesn't sound fun to me. I've been in that experience a couple too many times in New Zealand lately of having a closer finish. Don't like it.
Well, just wanting to club back in your high school and your collegiate running career. What distances did you run? What were your specialist distances back then?
5K, 10K. So
Yeah,
I
okay.
was
So,
long.
Yeah.
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 I think you'd be surprised if I said like the 1 and the 2,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, nothing was surprised. Yeah.
It would have surprised me the slightest if you two ran and said I was a collegiate runner from everything from 21 Ks to 100 meters. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me. The other thing I really like, sorry, Brian, I was going to say in that 2017 finish, and it's been, majority of your finishes we've seen, not this last one, but you travel with your family. In those days, it was your husband, and you only had one daughter. And just the finish, man, the finish is so cool. You come down there, you break the tape, do the photo, straight over to your husband for the most beautiful family hug. It's so cool to see.
Yeah. I have my finish line hug pictures from all of my wins, and I cherish every single one of them. I always say the best hugs happen at the finish line. I mean, it's it's because it's not me finishing that race. It really is me and him. For the most part, he's my team. I have other people, but he knows what this takes day in and day out, and he is the other half of what it takes.
Yeah, fantastic. And sort of through that, through this sort of time, I guess Kona's carrying on for you and so on. How was your sort of Corona, your Kona, Corona, your Kona career? How was that sort of building over time, and what were you sort of learning and progressing, because you got to the point you're top 10ing and so on at the World Champs at this point?
Yeah, top 10 and DNF and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like, heat has always been a little bit rough to me. I've gone to Malaysia 3 times and DNF'd 3 times, and so ended up in the hospital the last time, so won't probably go back.
It doesn't get
um,
any hotter than that, though, does it? Than
No.
Malaysia?
no,
Mm,
no,
yeah.
Texas. I've DNF'd in Texas and then in Kona and stuff, but. And so I think that's a lot of the learning is how to do heat adaptations. I think that's the most massive learning curve, at least for me, as a very, very heavy sweater over 2 liters. Like, I think it's 2.4 an hour that I
Wow.
am at. And so it's hard to replenish. You can't replenish that. And so it's
Mm,
just how to balance all of that and make sure you come out the other side okay.
wow.
So I think that's the biggest learning. This last year I have friends who have a house out there, and so was able to go out there a couple weeks and do my training build to Kona, out in Kona. And that was really, really awesome and eye-opening to be able to see the Queen K and the climb and descend to Hawi and back in like so many different weather conditions, because it can
Mm,
be, super windy, it can be super calm, you can have a tailwind, a headwind, like it can just be totally a different island every day. And so it was that, I think, was my biggest, which was just last year, but
mm,
still the biggest learning opportunity was to be out in Kona and train out in Kona.
mm, So, Cameron.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say the 70.3s. You've done a bunch of those in your career as well. What was it like for you trying to do that I guess the drop in distance or the increase in distance to a full from a half? Because you've raced a lot of years now, and has it always been an easy transition for you, or is it difficult, or how does that work?
Yeah. It's fun to get done before lunchtime, so you don't miss a meal. I enjoy that. But it is a lot more speed, right? It's a
Yeah.
ton more speed than what an Ironman is. And I mean, honestly, like, just even in college, like, the long run was my favorite thing to do. And the longer the distance, the better. I loved being out there. I loved pushing my body for longer. I like being out in nature. I like being outside. Saying that I like indoor training, I do, but I also do love just being able to be out in God's creations. I think it's just an amazing energy that you have when you're out there, and in the with the force of your own body like propelling you and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't done a ton of halves. Like, this last year I didn't do any halves. I did some T100 races, but last year I didn't do any halves. The year before it was very few, and I just generally do Ironmans now. This year I'll do 2 halves. I'll do one in a couple weeks in St. George, 70.3 St. George. And then they just brought Boise 70.3 back, which I'm
Oh,
excited
wow.
about.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, hometown race, like a
I
legit
did. Yeah.
hometown race. Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be awesome. Really
Yeah.
fun. So, I mean, I have the power on the bike to be able to go fast on the bike. I have the swim to be able to go fast in the swim. It's honestly down to the run, and I don't have the speed in my run right now, or really much of my career. So that, I think, is where, yeah, I have found the struggle of trying to find the speed in the run.
Yeah. What was it like coming back to New Zealand in 2018 as defending champion?
Oh, it was wonderful. I was having, at that point, I was having a really hard time in my personal life, because I had just, after Kona, well, really before/after, my husband and daughter moved out to Boise before Kona. I drove down to Texas, did a training camp in Texas, and then flew out to Kona, and then we did Kona, and then I flew back to Texas and drove the car back up to up to Boise and completed the move to Boise after Kona. So massive change of life right there. I had just left my physio, my massage therapist, my chiro, every like team member that I had, my training buddies out in Cincinnati. And now I was in this new place, didn't know anyone except for all of my in-laws. And so it was just a really, really hard time in my life. I was not a happy person. And I think a lot of times we see a happy athlete as a fast athlete. And if you're not happy in your personal life, you're not able to execute a good race in your professional life. So, yeah, it was a little bit of a learning curve. And I was like, not loving my coach at the time and having problems with that as well. And so, like, I wanted to be able to defend, but I knew that I wasn't in the shape that I needed to be able to defend. But I was trying to bury my head in the sand because I'm very good at doing that and just power forward anyway.
Yeah. So it was you still came in with a podium finish there in 2018. I think it was at the year Laura won it. Was it?
Yes.
It was. Sid won it,
yeah. So you're still sort of there or thereabouts with all this sort of turmoil going on in your life, but in terms of putting that behind you, you must have really I can't even get the word out properly. You must have just put everything into the right boxes and settled things down, because you come back 12 months later, you don't just win, you set a course record.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I loved that. That was a very good year. So yeah, I mean, I had balanced out everything that was wrong. So I ended up in the spring of that year, after I got home from New Zealand, I remember I was out on a bike ride in the middle of nowhere in Idaho, which is my favorite place in Idaho to be. So, and I got a call from a good friend in Cincinnati that I had, and she had two daughters the same age as my daughter. And she's like, "Hey, we're moving to Boise." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And they were living out of our RV because her husband was a traveling physio, and so they would traveled all around the U.S. in an RV, and would just be 3 months at a time in places. She was just going to be in Boise for 3 months, and we have some property and stuff, and we actually have an RV pad and no RV. So I was like, "Just move in with us." So they ended up moving in with us, which really helped me emotionally to be able to, have just a little piece of home of Cincinnati here. And, just to be able to feel more settled. And then I was able to find more good in Idaho. And I to change my attitude about Idaho, I remember my sister actually said, "Okay, you need to come up with 3 positive things every day that you like about Idaho," to just really try to flip the script in my head, because I just always had this negativity of everything that I didn't like about it. And so I did, and I remember on a bike ride, and it was the sun coming up, and I was descending this beautiful mountain, and the foothills were alive and just gorgeous. And I remember just thinking, like, I love Idaho, and I was like, oh my gosh, we've changed my mind. This is so good.
Cool.
So yeah, so I was able to change that. And then like I said about my coach, I wasn't really happy with that where we were, and so I changed coaches actually to Kiwi Bevan McKinnon of I think it was Jan 1 of 2019. So we only had a few months together, but a few months mattered a lot, and or a couple months, I guess, really, and it mattered a lot, and we were able to execute a really good race.
Yeah, brilliant.
The vindication must have been incredible, Jocelyn, to go from the disappointments you were talking about, going from defending to then getting third. That vindication that you did it. It wasn't luck. You changed that. You changed the environment. You changed everything around you, to then come back and, like Brian said, not just a win but a course record. That must have been incredible for you.
Yeah, no, it really was. And actually, it is currently still my lock screen.
Oh, wow. Brilliant.
Very
Brilliant.
good.
That's cool.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I would say that is the best race of my career. A lot of times people would put it to taking second by, I don't know, it was like a minute to Daniela Reef at Texas just a
Yeah.
couple of weeks later after that race. But that wasn't honestly, I don't think as good of a physical race as New Zealand was. So
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Sort of looking, the whole world sort of after that point kind of got a whole lot weird. You came back and raced the next year, but then we had COVID and all the disruptions. You became a mum again through all of that for a second lovely wee girl and so on. Were the difficulties of global travel and all of those things, did you ever sort of go through a point, think, you know what, maybe there's a message here, it's time to call time on the career, or you kept going? How did you sort of deal with that long stretch of time where the world was kind of upside down, and of course you were going through becoming a mum again?
yeah, well, I think that was more. I don't think the global travel ended up like it was weird because like New Zealand was like fine for the first part, and then y'all were not fine for like the next
Mm.
year, and it was like the opposite of the rest of the world. And so the
Yeah.
first part, like I was having a baby and I was recovering from a baby, and that's when you couldn't travel, and so it was totally fine. And I mean, we could still travel. Like I wanted to go on our last like family vacation as like a just three of us family, and I was just looking at different places that we could fly to. And at that time, Boise to Hawaii is generally cheap tickets, 600 round trip. I found less than $200 per person round trip to Hawaii. So I was like, we're going to Hawaii. So went to Hawaii in 2021 of January. Like we had to have COVID tests and everything and documentation and stuff like that. But it was actually a wonderful time to travel because there were far fewer people. Everything was at 50% and mandated at 50%. And everything was socially distanced and stuff like that. It
Yeah.
was wonderful. I had a very wonderful time traveling, but then I had my daughter, and then it was it has been still a massive road to recovery from having her. So I think if it was anything, hanging up the boots or whatever, it would have been because of having my second daughter, not for the pandemic. So
Yeah.
we were able to get around the pandemic well enough. So yeah, because I was able to in 2021 that fall, I was able to go do the Collins Cup out in
Yeah.
Slovakia, and my whole family came out there with me to that. So that was wonderful. It's still my daughter's like if someone asks her where do you want to go, she's like Slovakia. It's not where people. She loved the
No.
pool there. They had like slides and like
Uh,
this whole like obstacle
mm.
course.
I was going to say, what's it like with her if she's at school or something, and they're talking about going for a trip to like the next town or something? She's like, "No, I go to Slovakia." I'm like, half of them probably don't even know where Slovakia is.
Well, the thing is like she's already been to Hawaii so many times. I'm like, why don't you say Hawaii? But no, it's Slovakia or New Zealand now, because now that she's been to New Zealand, she's fallen in love with it as well, which is great because I want to keep going.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And we got you back. We got you back in 2024, and after a break of a few years, and it was wonderful to sort of have you back. So racing the last 2 years back here. Firstly, 2024, I think you were back on the podium again in third place, and that was a pretty ferocious racing day.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Let out of the swim, which isn't typical, but like I said, my swimming has continuously progressed.
Yeah.
So there was no Lauren Brand in there, so then it fell to me, and so I led that whole swim with a fairly decent pack of other women there, and then it was me and Chelsea that got away on the bike until she got a drafting penalty on the beginning of the second loop. And then she took off like a bullet. And when she got the penalty, like she's like, "Oh, see ya." I was worried that she was trying to ruin her race. And so at one of the turnarounds, I was like, Chelsea, just calm down, take a breath. Like, don't, you can run 10 minutes faster than any of us on this field. So you're fine. Like, and then got out on the run first, because of her penalty. And, she passed me on. I mean, Chelsea is an amazing runner. She
Yeah.
Yeah.
is just so beautiful to watch. And so, yeah, she passed me and then was just holding on for dear life. And then, oh my gosh, Els,
That
sorry,
was good.
Els
Yeah.
passed.
Yeah.
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 Yep, passed. And then coming home, I was hearing that Reagan was coming up on me. And so then it was like, oh my gosh, like had to, really push it home to be able to not have her catch me because I still wanted a podium position, obviously.
Mm.
So I was able to hold her off, which was great.
It's interesting just hearing what your interaction with Chelsea at the turnaround on the bike there and so on. What's it like, the camaraderie or the rivalry? How ferocious does it get, or is there an element of we're all in this together, we know each other's relative strengths and differences? What's it like out there in the pro field, and what are the interactions like out there? I guess it's going to be quite varying.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's very
Mm,
different for each person. Depends on
mm,
who you're talking about. So,
mm.
yeah, like pro athletes unfiltered. That would be interesting to hear
Yeah.
everyone's opinions of everyone. But
It'd be like the
what?
Iron Man version of Drive to Survive with the Formula One or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think just like that, right? Just like Drive to Survive, you have different personalities, you have different
Yeah.
people who are wanting to be more friendly and wanting to have friends within the field, people who really don't care. Like they, and that's no fault on them. Like it's just whatever you want and you want out of this. That said, I think that we all have deep, massive respect for
Yeah.
each other because we
Mm,
all know what each other go through to get to where we're at.
yeah.
And what we go through, through injuries, through sicknesses, through leaving family, and the sacrifices, investments really that we make to get to where we're at. And so like you have to have respect for each other when you're at that point.
Mm, mm. You mentioned that you're running, it's not quite where you kind of wanted it to be, but then here in 2025, this year at Ironman New Zealand, and you came home in second place, and you were absolutely ferocious on that run. You struck from a long way back, and you weren't gonna die wondering in this race. It was you really fought so hard in this year's race. Talk us through your day this year in Taupo.
Yeah. So it was much like I thought it would play out for the most part. So, um, getting out of the water slightly behind because, we had better swimmers in the field at the time that year. I was hoping to be able to catch onto the back of that pack, but couldn't. And so it was what it was. And I knew that I had an amazing, amazing bike fitness at the time. And so it was going to be, go to work on the bike. And my hope and plan was to build up a 10-minute lead because I knew I probably needed about a 10-minute lead going on to the run to be able to win the race. And very selfishly, I wanted to, even though I had been running for, I don't know, 8 weeks, if
Yeah.
that. And
Mm.
so building
Yeah,
back from a
because you're
massive,
coming back from surgery. That's the other
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
yes,
really, yeah,
very, very, very massive knee surgery. It's like
yeah,
one step below a knee replacement is how they
yeah,
classify it. And
yeah,
so it was, yeah, bone and cartilage replaced on
Wow.
multiple places in my knee. So it
yeah.
was it was a big whack is what they say.
Mm,
So yeah, it had been a massive journey this whole fall to
mm,
like, can I even come back? Is this going to happen or not? And like I said, I stick my head in the sand and pretend that nothing else is there and just full force forward and doesn't matter. So so I wanted to race New Zealand, and I was there, and I was excited to be there. So like I said, I knew I had really good bike fitness because I had been biking a ton. So I went to work on the bike. I wasn't able to build up a 10-minute lead, unfortunately, but it was 6+ minutes. And so um, I didn't think that that was going to be enough heading out on the run. I just knew that my run, I had my longest run, I think, was 11.5 miles
Yeah.
before that race. So it was, I didn't even know if my body could actually honestly hold up for the whole marathon. So I was hoping. And so going out on the run, and yeah, like Daron passed me, and looked like she was on fire.
Yeah.
And I remember when she passed me, one of the Ironman spotters was right there, and she was cheering for both of us. And I turned to her and I was like, I want it more than she wants it. And she's like, yes, you do. Go get it. You can do it. And so I I think a lot of times, like, words are powerful. The words that we
Yeah.
tell ourselves are so powerful. And I had told myself I want it more than her. And so if Reagan came by and passed and didn't say it about her, and I should have, because maybe it would have been different.
Yeah.
But because Reagan went past Duran and ended up winning. But yeah, on that third lap, I was able to come back up on Duran and pass her back. And like I knew that I really, like, I had manifested on that first second lap that I wanted it more than her. Like I knew it, I wanted it more than her. And so I was able to push my body to a new level to be able to, get past her, break that rubber band, and be able to come into second.
Yeah.
But in the lead up to Ironman New Zealand, Jocelyn, no, we all, no recovery is ever a straight line for recovery.
No.
And that was, man, I remember at the Pofity on the Thursday night, you showed me some photos of what you'd been through, and I'm like, holy heck, I knew you'd had surgery, but I didn't expect to be seeing the inside of your knee from not that long ago. And so was there times in that recovery that you thought, I don't know if I'm going to get to New Zealand, or were you just, it's happening, I'm going there and it's going to happen?
Yeah, both. I guess it kind of goes back to like the stupid naivete and like faith that I have in myself, and then also there's reality. So
Yeah.
balance to be had. Like, I wanted to be there, and like I said, like, New Zealand has a massive special place in my heart from when I was 12 years old and I made my first trip there, to my, whatever, 13th trip that I did this year, second trip. I think second or 13th trip that I've done to New Zealand this year. So it's always had a massively special place in my heart. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but when I land in Auckland even, and I get to go walk outside to go to the domestic terminal, and you get to go walk outside, not as beautiful anymore. I liked the scenic walk that
Yeah.
used to be. They've done a lot of construction there since, but you still get to go walk outside and just breathing in the fresh air and the energy. Like, I really feel at home. I feel at peace. I feel at home, and I just feel relaxed and wonderful. And so I wanted that. Like, that's what I wanted. I wanted to get my feet on New Zealand, and I wanted to be there at the race. I wanted to be in Taupo. I wanted to see all my friends there. I wanted to go race my heart out in the amazing town and community that there is there. And so when you want something that bad, it's hard to get in the way of it, to be honest. And so my entire team around me was like, you're crazy, you're insane, you're not going to be able to get there. Let's be smart, et cetera, et cetera. I was like, I think that I can. I think that I can. But I honestly, I didn't buy tickets to New Zealand until, I don't know, like 3 or 4 weeks before the race. I was there for coast to coast with my sister. And that's when I bought the tickets to go back to the race, because I was not sure until there. And like I said, like, I feel as though, like, New Zealand and I just have a really good jive, like a peaceful, like, healing, because I was not able to run very well until I went to New Zealand. It was Christchurch for coast to coast. And I did my longest run before the race was there in Christchurch, just right along that waterway. That I did that 11 and a half miles before the race. And I just was like, okay, now we're clicking. I can actually run. Like, I'm not like, not, I wasn't ever really limping through it, but not like, just feel like you're going through mud. Like, I felt like I was running through mud up until that point. And then I was like, okay, I can actually run. We can do this race. This is going to happen. But yeah, I mean, from that whole fall, like there were times where I honestly thought that the graft of bone that they were putting into mine and stuff like that, I honestly thought like this isn't taking, like I'm gonna have to get the surgery redone. Like this is massive setback. Like how is this gonna work? And it really up until January and when was finally felt like it was taking and things were moving forward. Like, and that's not just how I felt. It was also imaging and reality that we were getting that was showing this. So it wasn't just me thinking this, but yeah.
Does that make it one of your most satisfying results where you came from to achieve a second place, like a fighting second place like that? Because, I mean, you make no bones about it, there was a huge question mark hanging over you going into that race for you personally, I guess for us outsiders looking in and so on, to achieve something like that from given where you'd come from.
For sure. For sure. That's probably, I'm like tearing up because yeah, it meant a lot to me. Like I have a couple of finish line photos from it and just one of me like just like, hunkered down on the red carpet of like, holy cow, what did I just do? And then another one with Hannah Barry with her arm around me, congratulating me. And
Yeah.
yeah, like those just mean a lot to me because yeah, it was vindication. It was like manifestation of what I wanted. And I think that, you've said the power of the mind and it's so real. And like, if you want something and you see it and you really can visualize it happening and everything like yeah, I wanted to win and that didn't happen, but I got second and I came
Yeah.
back. Like I had a run battle for second. Who would have thought that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Amazing. Hey, how
And,
did
and,
Sister Meredith go? Sorry, Cameron, go.
I was just going to say on that race, I mean, I thought your vindication was incredible, Jocelyn, and to watch you was inspiring, as it always is. But it was, I thought, when you're up against a younger athlete or someone that's new in their career that probably still have that naivety that you're talking about in Regan Holyoke out of Australia. I mean, she had an outstanding race, easily the best race she's had in her short pro career. And yet you were toe-to-toe with her for so long when you're only just coming back from that injury. That's incredible.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. How did Sister Meredith go on coast to coast?
She did amazing. She got second in her age group.
Yeah.
So she's already committed to going back next year. So
Are
yeah.
you going to do a typical Jocelyn and follow her in there and then beat her, or no?
No, I said I won't do the kayaking. So she's trying to figure out how we can do a team. Like her husband Ben can do the biking, I'll do the run, and she'll do the kayaking. So maybe that's in our future at some point. But I won't be doing a coast to coast. Kayaking is just too crazy.
It's a cool race though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is so cool. And it's so fun to be part of. Like I like don't think it actually has the energy that Ironman does, but like it's because like we can't as spectators we can't be there at the start, like when they run from the beach up, like because you're already having to drive up the road before it closes to get to their next transition. And we did get to go to her finish, and like it's super cool because you get to like run with your athlete across the finish line and stuff like that. So that is really cool, and it is a super super cool event. And I mean, what I think is crazy is that the cutoffs, like if you look at cutoffs and how close pros get to cutoffs in an Ironman, we're nowhere close to cutoffs. Like we're way, way, way prior to cutoffs. But in coast to coast, the pros are within like an hour or two of the cutoffs, like the entire day. Like they're even having to push it. Like it's an insane race.
Yeah, for viewers and listeners on the Old School Tri Show podcast, the Coast to Coast is an event in the South Island of New Zealand where you traverse one side of the island to the other. There's no swimming unless you fall out of your kayak. It's kayak like run, and it's up over the Southern Alps. So it's a remote, and it's a world championship as well. It's a pretty remarkable event. So Jocelyn, what next for you? What are the sort of the plans for you over this year and the years ahead?
Yeah, so this year I'll do St. George May 10th, and I'll do Boise. It's in August, and then Kona. And then before Kona, I actually probably will do Kalmar, Sweden. It's an Ironman that is there. So probably do that race as well, just to fit in another Ironman because I love them. So but I'm also lucky enough to give back to the sport, and I'm going to be guiding an athlete this year.
Brilliant. Wow.
So, USA athlete, Taylor Talbot, and so she's Olympic hopeful for 28 in LA. So I'll be going actually right after St. George. We're going to Yokohama and doing that May 16th. Or May 17th, whatever that Saturday is, May 17th. And then 2 weeks later, Columbia, and doing that race. And then right before Boise, there's one in Canada we'll be doing. And then Wollongong right after Kona, which will be fun. Like 5 days, I think, after Kona, we'll do Wollongong, her world championship. So
it must
Is
be
the
amazing
aspiration to go through to the Olympics with her? Is that the goal?
If we drive, I haven't actually, we've only done like FaceTime kind of calls. I haven't ever really been with her. So I'm actually going out right before St. George, doing a training camp with her in Arizona to try to, learn how to guide. Like people keep asking me, oh, are you tethered? Are you above? And I was like, I don't know. Like I haven't learned how to guide. I know we're on a tandem bike and that I get to push all the power that I want. That's what I know. Like
it must be awesome for your athlete though if you do connect and everything goes well. Oh, who's your guide? Oh, it's just casual Jocelyn McCauley. Don't worry about it. It's okay. That's cool. How did that come about, Jocelyn? How did did this athlete reach out to you, or is it part of a group, or how did that work?
So Tommy Zafiris, Katie Zafiris' husband, and also ex-professional triathlete himself. He is the talent recruiter ID of USA Triathlon. So he works with Taylor, and then he looked at the top ranked cyclists in USA Triathlon and reached out to the top ranked cyclist and was like, hey, do you want to guide? Do you want to guide? And this was actually last year. And I was like, well, I would love to, but I think I might be having surgery, so I don't know if I can. It was before I had anything scheduled. I was still like, the surgery decision was a really hard decision because to me, it was either I'm ending my career now because I'm not able to run like I want to run, or I get the surgery and I try to have a second, third, fourth, whatever act and continue to go and see where I can go with a better knee. So didn't guide her last year. Actually, Leslie Smith guided her last year, and then guiding her this year, and we'll see how things go and go from there.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Joss, we have been so grateful for having stolen so much time from you today to talk about your wonderful career. You're giving so much back to the sport now. You've given so much to Ironman New Zealand, and both, I guess you and Meredith, you're the favourite two accents that we've been hearing for over a decade coming in. So thank you so much for joining us on the Old School Tri Show. And we look forward to having you back in Taupo at some stage in the very near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on.